Dear listeners, welcome to episode 8 of Thinking Psychologist. Till now, what we have seen is how human minds work, how there's a hidden personality into our mind, molding our behavior and actions into doing something that he wants us to do, and the psychologists across the globe hinting towards how do we take control of our thoughts. Not just that, we've been delving deeper into once you are speaking to an audience, what is the audience thinking about? As well as we have delved into the idea of how human beings are purely emotional and we base our decisions on the rational basis. In today's episode, we're gonna take the game up a notch and we're gonna be delving deeper into the topic of lucid dreaming. There's so much hue and cry and buzz around what lucid dreaming is all about. So we have been lucky to have an expert on the show today. His name is Peter, and he's been practicing lucid dreaming for ages now. He comes from Hungary. And without further ado, we would like to invite Peter to the show. And Peter, welcome to the show. And please, if you could brief us about who you are, what do you do, and that would be really helpful for the listeners. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. So I'm Peter Torok, I'm from Hungary, and I've got a background in finance and business studies and also teaching mathematics. But since 2010, I've been dealing with lucid dreaming a lot. And for me, it started with reading a book. And I read about lucid dreaming, and that somehow brought back a memory. And this memory was a special kind of altered states of consciousness when I was a teenager, which at the time didn't know what was. It just I found myself outside of my body, and then I woke up from that, and I was really scared and didn't know what to do with it, and no one could really explain it. And so I buried this experience, and for a long time I didn't have anything like that again. So when in 2010, when I was reading this book, then it explained that I had a lucid dream, and that was an out of body experience. And reading that somehow triggered this memory, or I don't really know what happened, but then I started to have regular lucid dreams almost every day. And I became fascinated with the topic, and I read about consciousness and the mind a lot. And then I began to create my own meditation techniques to induce these lucid dreams whenever I want to. And I got to the point when I was able to enter a lucid dream directly from meditation. So that looks like the way you can imagine that is that you lie down, you're very relaxed, and your body falls asleep, but your mind remains conscious. So you go directly from wakefulness into a lucid dream or into an out of body experience. So you don't lose consciousness. So that's kind of my main technique. And then I started sharing my experiences, and people asked me that why don't I teach this? And then gradually over time, I became a teacher of lucid dreaming, and I've created courses, and I do retreats and one-to-ones, and I'm not teaching maths anymore. I'm just teaching lucid dreaming.
Fantastic, Peter. Thank you for that short introduction. You know, this topic of lucid dreaming has been around for a while now. And what I wanted to ask is, uh, first of all, what is dreaming? Let me rephrase it. What is the difference between dreaming and lucid dreaming?
So that's a good question, because many people associate lucid dreaming with the idea that they somehow decide what they want to think about, they decide in advance what they want to dream about, and then they dream about that. And that's not lucid dreaming. That's dream incubation. And lucid dreaming is the ability to realize while you are dreaming that it's not real. You're realizing that it is a dream. You're not in the physical world, but somewhere in the world of your mind. And then with that kind of awareness, you can step out of the narrative of the dream story and you can self reflect and make decisions as if you were in wakeful life. So, for example, if a nightmare is happening to you, you can just stop and say, "Oh, this is not real. This is just a dream. I don't have to run from my attacker. I can even fight him or her, or I can even just make it completely disappear and do something else." So you regain your self-awareness, the same self-awareness that you have in wakeful life, and that's lucid dreaming. And of course it has different levels, and it's important to get the levels because so you can have a very small amount of lucidity, just enough that you recognize that something is off, this is not real, and maybe because of that you're not so emotionally involved. And you can extend that lucidity to that level when you can completely make everything go away what you're dreaming about and just create anything you want to dream about. So you can create your own world or objects or people. So there's a difference between the level of awareness, and with the level of awareness comes a different amount of control as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Peter, what you're implying is that, if I go into a state of lucid dreaming, I have a control over my dreams. I can create my own world inside my dreams. Sounds very much like Inception, isn't it?
Yes, it's pretty much the same, except of course Inception has these sci-fi elements of fighting and danger, and of course in real life that's not true. So you're not gonna get stuck in a dream and stuff. You are in control. So that's the whole point of lucidity, means clear mind. So you have the awareness and you have the power to either continue with the lucid dream or just wake up anytime you want.
So, but still, I can go inside and create my own world inside a lucid dream.
Yes, yes. If you get to that point of awareness where you can have reasonable time inside, keeping that awareness, because sometimes, especially in the beginning, these lucid dreams tend to be short. But with practice, yes, you can just stop in the middle of the dream, make anything disappear that you don't want, and then you can just have this clear white area around you, and you can fill it up with buildings or a forest or whatever you want. So it's up to your imagination. You can create that world.
So, and is can everyone have this lucid dreaming kind of experience, or is it very chosen, like a psychic kind of a people can only have it? And I would also like to understand what's the science behind lucid dreaming, if you could shed some light on this.
So according to statistics, most people have one or two lucid dreams accidentally during their life. Yeah, so it's not something that's reserved for a select few. It happens naturally, but normally we don't know what to do with it or we don't know how it happened. But you can also train to have more lucid dreams, and of course, it's a bit with everything that if you have the specific brain structure, maybe you have talent, then it will be easier for you to do the training. But still, with lots of training, everyone can do it, I believe. Maybe not everyone believes that, but I believe with proper training, anyone can do it. And what
Mhm.
was your second question?
Second was about the is there a scientific backing to lucid dreaming? Have there been certain research done around this particular fact?
Yes, the scientific research has been there for over 50 years. So there are many ways to prove lucid dreaming. For example, you can go into the sleep lab and they put the EEG on your mind, and then they will measure which brain waves you're showing. And for example, one of the ways to do it is that lucid dreamers can communicate with the outside world by signs, by moving their eyeballs to left and right. And that way they can signal to the researchers that they are conscious and they can communicate like that. And at the same time, the EEG is showing the brain waves, which actually prove that they are in a dream. And There are other waves like the gamma brain waves, which are associated in the state. So so the researcher can see that the brain is in sleeping mode, but at the same time, the dreamer is communicating with the outside by consciously moving their eyeballs. So that's one way that they proved that lucid dreaming was real in the beginning.
But how is this even possible that a person is in a lucid dreaming state? So he's in a dream state, like the body is not functioning, but your mind is aware. And but still he's communicating to the outside world. So, isn't that, two levels of awareness that a person has, or how does that work?
Yes, it's two levels of awareness because it's a hybrid state. So you have the brain waves of a normal dreamer, but you also have the brain waves of an awake person. So certain areas of your brain, which are naturally turned off while dreaming, are activated when you're lucid dreaming. So you have both awake brain state and dreaming brain state, and it's a hybrid state. So that way you can sometimes even move your hands a little bit or your eyeballs while you are dreaming. So you're in
Hmm.
between.
And is it possible to share a dream as well? Coming back to Inception again, because I'm in no voice on this topic. But is it possible to, two people sharing a same dream, a lucid dream kind of a state? Is that a possibility?
So now you're asking a spiritual question. So the way I stand, I try to look at lucid dreaming as something scientific, but with an open mind for metaphysical interpretations. And well, that's, if you believe in the spiritual and other dimensions and, telepathic connections, then I think lucid dreaming is one of the best ways to explore this because
Hmm.
you're in a kind of mind state or dimension or whatever that state is in which there are no boundaries. You can create what you want. So in my experience and with my students, there are many stories in which they could connect to another person through a dream. But of course, these states have, or these experiences have not been verified. These are stories.
So there are multiple ways that I've heard as well where people go into these, lucid dream kind of a state. One of them is also about consuming a lot of, hallucination subjects, substances and drugs as well to get into that state. Is that true? Is that something that's happening as well?
Well, drugs always put you in altered states of consciousness artificially. So that already includes that you're not in control. The drug pushes you into a state. So whatever's happening you, it's happening to you, and you're not creating it. So I would personally stay away from drugs because we don't know how we're going to react. We don't know how to stop like a psychedelic experience, and lucid dreaming is about developing control over your mind. So with lucid dreaming, you give yourself the power to step in and out of these states. You not just randomly take something and then trust that you have either a good trip or a bad trip, and who knows what happens. So I don't know. I don't have the experience with such substances, so I don't know how exactly they are alike to lucid dreaming. According to uh, these stories that people tell me, it's not the same. It's always somehow different. And do you want me to tell you like fundamental ways in which we can learn the lucid dreaming, the techniques? Is that what you want to ask?
Yeah, so the next question that I wanted to ask is, if I find this topic really interesting and I want to know, is there a shortcut method that if I go to sleep tonight, I can experience lucid dreaming, or is there a shortcut tip or trick that you can tell me that could help?
Yeah, a shortcut is having a really, really strong intention and motivation that you want to become lucid. Because, lucid dreaming is about working with your mind, and the intention and your motivation have powerful effects. So if you were to become obsessed with lucid dreaming and really want to lucid dream, and you can hold that intention while you are falling asleep tonight, you're giving yourself a really high chance of becoming lucid. So just when you go to bed, close your eyes and just have that concept as your last thought as you drift off into sleep, like, I realize that I am dreaming, like this is a dream. I'm going to self-reflect and check. So you just keep saying those affirmations to you, and that's one of the shortcuts.
And the other ways that you were talking about, how do we get into that state?
So I think there are fundamentally two major ways in which one can approach lucid dreaming, and within those two ways that there are variations. So the first one is called the dream-induced method, which is most often recommended for beginners. And that means that during your day, you stop multiple times and you question your reality. You question whether you are in a wakeful life or in a dream. And this is called a reality check. So let's say every hour you stop and self reflect and you look around and you check where you are, where you came from, what you've done like 5 minutes before, and you try self reflecting. Is this reasonable? Can this be happening? And a good way to do it, it's a classic way to count your fingers, because in the dream, for some reason, we tend to have either more fingers than we should, or they look weird and wobbly and strange. We don't know why that happens. So if you check many times during the day, you count your fingers, and at the same time you do a proper real self reflection, like you're really questioning your reality, then if you do that many times, then there's a high chance that sooner or later this will come up in your dream. So you will dream about doing a self-reflection, and you will dream about seeing your hands. And if you've got, let's say, 6 fingers, then it will be like an aha moment, like, oh wow, like 6 fingers, that's not possible. I must be dreaming. And then you become lucid. So that's the first way. The first way is many reality checks during the day. That's the first way. And of course, there's the way that I told you, going to sleep while holding the intention of becoming lucid. You can do the two at the same time. And there's a completely other way, which is the wake-induced lucid dreaming. And that means you're going into the lucid dream from wakefulness. That's a technique that I explained in the beginning. That's my favorite technique. So a moment.
Could you elaborate on that technique again, please? From
Yeah, yeah,
wakeful
sure.
streaming.
So yeah, wakeful, that means that you need to learn to meditate. It's really, there's no other way. You have to learn to calm your mind and calm your thoughts. And when you can do that, you can lie down. And the best way to do it is after about 5 to 6 hours of sleep. So you wake up at dawn, and you spend maybe 15 minutes um, with strengthening your intention that you want to stay in the present moment, and you want to have a clear mind, and you want to become conscious. So you're building your motivation, and at the same time maybe do some breathing. And when you have calmed your mind, and you lie down and you continue with the meditation. And the aim of this meditation, that your mind gets really, really calm, really, like, preferably no thoughts. And if you can do that long enough, then sooner or later your brain will begin to shift into dreaming mode. But because you were conscious, you were meditating, your mind stays awake. And then as the brain turns off the body, then you might experience this special vibrating state that many people talk about. I have that as well. And sometimes you hear this sound as well. I don't hear any sounds, but some people do. And when you do that, that means you're on the borderline of dreaming and wakefulness. And then you kind of have to learn to ride that wave and do an exit technique. So if you're feeling that vibration, that means you're in between wakefulness and dreaming. And then you can either go in to the dream by seeing these beginning dreamlike images. You just focus on them and you just suddenly you're in a dream and like VR, really like you're inside. Or what can also happen is that you start feeling this dreaming body, which feels like an energy duplicate of your physical body. And if you become aware of that, then you will be able to do little movements, which is called an exit strategy. And then you, let's say you begin to roll, and if you do that in the right moment, then it's not your physical body that rolls, but this energy body or this dreaming body that will roll. And then you can sort of separate from your physical body with this energy body and roll out or float out. There are many ways to do that. And then if all goes well, then you find yourself in the room and you will be looking at your physical body as it's sleeping. And
Are
that's
you?
a that's a really
Yeah,
fascinating experience.
I can totally, think about it. Although I haven't had that experience. So is it the astral projection that you're talking about, the energy body going out?
Well, yeah, if you want to use like spiritual language, then yes, that's what people call astral projection because it totally feels like that. So it's,
Hmm.
if you approach this from a scientific viewpoint, then this is a special lucid dream that so it's out of body experience type of lucid dream. But if you look at it from a metaphysical point of view, then this is astral projection. Yes.
So how long does that last? And how long have you been able to hold your astral projection or continue in the state of lucid dreaming?
Interestingly, lucid dreams are easier to hold, I think. So that and hard to say the exact length because in the dream it can feel hours and then you wake up and check your alarm clock and maybe it was only 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah,
So
I wanted to ask that question as well. Why does that happen? Any particular reason or why?
well, we don't know enough how the brain works, but in the dream state it's such an altered state of I don't even know how. I don't really know how. It just feels different. So there you can have the experience of having perhaps even multiple days or hours, and it can be seconds in wakeful life when you wake up. There's a distortion there.
Hmm. Even in the dream state, how did you reach there? People don't really remember how are they in that particular place. But in lucid dreaming, you have that awareness where you understand that you are dreaming, right? That makes lucid dreaming different from dreaming.
Yes, sometimes you can keep your lucidity all the way through the dream. Sometimes you become lucid and your lucidity will increase and you get even more self-awareness and then you remember all your dream tasks that you had that you wanted to try in the lucid dream. Let's say you wanted to fly, you wanted to access an old memory, or you wanted to summon a person and ask something. So sometimes you remember these when you have good awareness, you remember these and your lucidity goes up. But sometimes what happens is that you have a lucidity and the dream is offering you a story and you engage with it and you engage too much and you forget that you were lucid and then your dream awareness goes like that and then you were lucid but then maybe moments later you forgot that you were lucid and you end up in a regular unconscious dream and then you wake up and it's like oh I was lucid for like 3 seconds and I lost it so it can go like that or like that.
Oh, I know. Good that you told me, that happens as well. So the brain itself wants to catch you, similar to our thoughts as well, right? We keep dwindling between past and future, and that would happen in the dream as well, where that would feed us a lot of information and where we go and becomes a flow. So once you come out of these lucid dreaming states, do you remember everything about what you dreamt?
Sometimes the lucid dream is so long that you forget many details because these lucid dreams can be really intense. Like sensations and emotions can be much more amplified than what you can have in real life. And sometimes there's too much information and you can only remember part of it. Sometimes you remember really, really long stories and make like a two-page dream journal, so it's always different. And meditation really helps to keep your awareness in the dream. That's
Mm.
another reason why we should do meditation. And whenever you become lucid, one of the most important thing is actually, I think it's still the first thing that you should do once you become lucid is to solidify the dreaming awareness. It's called anchoring or deepening the lucid state. So for example, you become lucid, and before jumping into the fun, you stop and keep self-reflecting, almost like you keep meditating in the lucid dream. That leads to dream yoga as well, which is another fascinating thing. So you stop and let's say you rub your hands together, and that somehow solidifies your awareness, and you keep reminding yourself in the lucid dream that okay, this is my dreaming body, I must keep my self-awareness. So and then you do something, and again you keep reinforcing that okay, I'm in a lucid dream, I must keep my self-awareness, and you should do that every time.
Wow, that's really interesting. Do you this dream yoga thing that you mentioned, you know, is it about like a proper yoga fitness exercise that you do, or or what is it?
Well, it comes from Buddhism, and the whole point of dream yoga is to use the dream state to realize the illusory nature of reality. It's about realizing the real nature of the mind. So it becomes spiritual at that point, and there are dream yoga techniques in which you transmute your experiences. So, for example, you can like enlarge yourself and then shrink yourself and split yourself into two. So all these kinds of things that they're all meant to show you that the whole existence is kind of um, within consciousness or within the mind, and to realize that we can change anything, and that even physical life is more malleable. So and and if you do that in the dream state, then you will be able to approach all your psychological problems as well, and your with your arguments with other people in wakeful life. Because when let's say you have like if there's a bad situation with someone in wakeful life, then you will be more likely to stop and self-reflect and have a higher perspective of the situation, and not get drawn into the drama emotionally, because you've done these mind loosening techniques in dream yoga, and then you will be more flexible in real life, in wakeful life as well, so you can detach from the situation easier. So there's a huge benefit in the dream yoga techniques.
Wow, interesting. I've never heard of dream yoga before. Thanks for that information. That would be really helpful. The other thing is that, I've also heard that people go inside their dreams and find a solution to a problem that they have been struggling in their, awake life, the natural life as well. And is there something like this wherein you are able to access your subconscious and get something out from the subconscious and apply it in the real world?
Yes, the subconscious can give you answers in so many ways and in ways you didn't expect. So many times you get, maybe you ask something from the dream state, or from the dream awareness, or depending on your belief systems, on a guide or a higher self. It's really up to you. And many times, or most times, you don't get the answer as you expect. You know, sometimes the answer is a new scenery building up around you, and somehow it it turns on your intuition, and you have like an insight. So it's not like you get like a direct message that someone tells you something. And it can happen as well sometimes, but many times you get like like a super inspiration that you just know what your next step is, what you want to do, you know. Or for example, for with me, like this is one of my in the early days, I remember that I didn't know if I should move abroad or not, and the dream showed me two scenarios: one, staying where I was, and staying in that job and in that lifestyle, and after that, it showed me like what would be like if I made a different decision. So I had these going parallel next to each other, and from there, I kind of relived possible futures in a way, and that really helped me to, you know, to decide. So it can happen that way,
Mm-hmm.
or that. I don't know. I have many examples. It's I don't know how much time we have.
Can we also travel to our past? And like you said, the future was there. Is it also possible to go into your past and look at what had happened in a multiple way?
Well, I'm not saying that that was the actual future. You know, it's just probably my subconscious idea of the future. But in the past, you can travel in, I think, with more certainty in a way that you can access memories which you didn't, which you forgot or don't consciously remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, it's traveling into the past in that sense that yes, you can access memories, and whether you can actually travel in the past, that's it's a very spiritual question.
So, have you have a lot of students and a lot of people get training from you on the lucid dreaming. And since we are approaching the end of this course, if our listeners want to approach you and want to learn these steps in a very basic way, how do they do that? Do you have these online courses somewhere, and how do we approach you?
Yes, so I believe we're going to put some links in the description under this podcast, and I think they should go with those links. They will be directed to whichever websites is currently hosting my courses. Um, I have a few courses. I have the beginner course, the more advanced course about the outer body experience, and I've got two more courses which also about psychology and one more metaphysical. And yes, they should check out those links, and they can get in touch with me via Facebook or my website. I do Skype mentoring. So yeah, these are
And
the ways.
what should my audience expect out of after they do their course? Do you sort of guide them in the right way to have that lucid dreaming experience, or does it come with a certification of a guarantee that they will get to see the lucid dreams?
Well, there are students who told me after like 2 days that they become lucid just from the first 2 days, and everyone's brain is different, so sometimes that can happen, but that's not a guarantee. For most people, I think they need to go through the training. So the courses contain everything they need to know. There's theory and there's practice and there's a training plan, and they should follow the training plan, because it's for most people this is a new function of the brain, so we need to teach the brain. And according to statistics, learning a new habit can take between 1 month and 2 months for a skill to become so embedded that it becomes second nature. So the
Mm-hmm.
learning curve can be anything from 3 days to 2 months. And there's a training, everything is in the training. There are guided meditations, there are steps for your morning, for your afternoon, for your evening. So you just follow those steps and do the work,
Yeah.
and you can become a lucid
Sounds
dreamer.
sounds quite comprehensive, Peter. Maybe I'll get one of those and get some free counseling from you once in a while.
Yeah, you should definitely try. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I meditate quite a bit. I've been meditating for more than 3 years now. And I once you talk about the stillness of the mind, I know what clear mind it is. What is it all about? And then it tends to get a little bit of a boring once you're too much aware about the surrounding and not dwindling between the past and the future. But I'll definitely have a look into those courses and see. Overall, net, Peter, thank you for coming to the show. I'm gonna quickly do a summary of what we have learned, and then we will take the closing remarks from you. So, listeners, what Peter mentioned was that lucid dreaming is for everybody. It's just that every brain is different, every person is just different, but it's definitely worth a try. And lucid dreaming seems to be a sort of a tool to venture inside your mind and figure out the complexities of the mind and figure out a new world altogether. Overall, what we see is that meditation again becomes a very important tool in terms of getting inside your awareness, be it in the awake state or being in the dream state. Both the places, the more aware or more attentive we become to our thoughts, either in the dream state or in the awake state, makes hell lot of a difference. With that, we would like to say goodbye to Peter. Peter, any closing remarks that you would, any words of wisdom that you would like to tell our listeners?
Yeah. I think that I would like to encourage everyone to meditate because it has so many benefits, meditation, that it's amazing. Yeah, if you really learn to meditate, it's amazing. And if you do that, then lucid dreaming is just one step, one easy step from meditation. And yeah, the second thing is about lucid dreaming is really once you get a taste of it, that's when you can really realize that how amazing this tool is for looking into your subconscious mind and learning about yourself. So for self improvement, lucid dreaming is fantastic.
Super, Peter. It was pleasure talking to you. It was a great learning experience. Thanks for coming to Thinking Psychologist.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thanks, bye.
Thanks. Bye.